Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.
We're synced up and we're ready to go.
So, against my better judgment, JL has joined us again. We had something like Tyler and I, Tyler's here, by the way.
Hi.
And if you didn't know, I think you probably know if you're a listener to this podcast because I talk shit about him constantly, but I live with this man, JL. And we had something to talk about, Tyler, the three of us. And we were talking about it for like 2 hours, and it's like already 10:30 at night, and like Tyler has to go home. And I'm like, you know what, fucking JL, just jump on the podcast quick so we can get out an episode. So welcome back. This is your third time, actually.
I refute that.
This is your first time on the podcast.
No, it is, and I love being back. Honestly, there's no better welcome that I can get than you two sweaty fucks drinking in front of me. So
I'm actually pretty cold right now, if we're being completely honest.
You can see the beads of sweat forming on their brows. They're lying. This doesn't show up on camera.
Welcome to Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where we debate business topics, both sober and drunk, to see if we come to the same conclusions. This is episode 88. I'm at my wit's end. I'm honestly.
Yeah, we broke Willows last night.
Yeah,
you got to read that board.
Oh, okay. Here, can I do a little show and tell for you guys?
Yeah, please do.
So, I often there's a board behind a whiteboard, and I always write something. Usually, it doesn't make any sense. Usually, it's an inside joke that like you won't understand, and we almost never address it. What's on the board?
Rarely, yeah.
But I wrote a paragraph today. And I guess if you want to, I was just gonna not address it, but if you want to address it, go ahead.
I really would like to, because this was a pivotal moment for my understanding of Willows. On October 3rd, 2022 at 11:18 p.m. a.m. CST. Wow, very specific. I didn't notice the time zone at first, but I'm here for it. This is international. Sleepy Joe walked off confused during a press conference addressing Hurricane Ian. His handler tried to grab the back of his suit like he was a toddler, but restrained herself because of the cameras. The audience applauded the address. This broke me.
So, I don't know if you can like plug the video to this.
Yeah, I definitely can. Yeah,
please do. Right there.
So it's like I'm like, this was my final straw.
Apparently.
I'm not even like...
This is like the moment when I was like allegedly tossing signs in the street and Willows is like...
No, you know what this is...
Yeah, this is the moment I like this guy.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
But this is so it's not even like fuck these Democrats, fuck these Republicans. It's not even like, it's like, this is like, I think
this guy has the nuclear football.
Not even that. It's past that.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm a crazy person. Like,
join the club.
We're in the Matrix. Like, I think, like, They Live, where Roddy Piper fucking puts on the sunglasses and then he sees the world for what it actually is, and everyone's aliens, and it says, like, obey and all that shit, and he takes them off and it's all happy. I literally feel like I'm seeing reality differently than everybody else. That, like, I'm like, this is a lost cause. And everyone's like, well, it's not that bad. And like, I feel like I'm a fucking alien. I feel like I'm in the Matrix. I feel like I'm fucking Neo right now. And I'm like, you can't, like, that's not, it's a Mr. Smith. And they're like, no, it's just a stapler. And I'm like, no, it's a Mr. Smith. And it's, I'm losing my goddamn mind. Am I in a fucking straitjacket right now?
No,
you guys, you fucking see Shutter Island where DiCaprio's fucking, spoiler, crazy the entire fucking time. And then like, fucking Hulk is like his partner, but it's actually just a therapy experiment to see if he's sane. And it's like, that's what I feel like. I'm in a fucking mental institution, and you're hired to see if I'm like ready for a release or not. And I'm fucking going insane because everyone's looking at the world, and it's just fine. This is okay.
Willows is like the guy at the orgy that can't get hard, and everyone's beaking him about it, but he's like, none of you people are hot.
I saw your fingers in three cheese dip there. I don't want those in me.
Orgy. Most of my experiences with anonymous group sex, everyone would not be beaking you about having a soft penis. They're very, very accepting.
Well, you know, it was just a hypothetical.
Yeah, I go to
Willis is like, my soft cock gets a lot of good reviews. All right.
I go to the orgies for the food.
Yeah. Okay. Willis is running a "I'm not paying for food anymore"
Okay, Danny.
movement.
Yeah.
Okay, Danny DeVito.
I was talking about this last episode, and I think I want to make it. I texted you, and you read it, and then never responded, Jail.
Yeah, that shows you what my opinion was.
I think we talked about it extensively last episode, so it's not worth going into. But I haven't paid for food in 2 months, so
Really?
yeah,
Legit.
yeah.
That's actually impressive.
Yeah, no, he sold me on this. In like 15 minutes, he sold me on the entire idea. I was
I
like,
just-
you idiot, that's really sad. And then after 15 minutes, I'm like, okay.
I'm making a political statement.
I
Yeah.
just don't think being cheap is a political statement.
Isn't
No,
it?
because it's too
Isn't it though?
it's too expensive for a random person to fucking buy groceries and pay rent. How are they expected to on fucking minimum wage?
For context, Willows texted me this morning and asked me what my household income was so that he could apply to welfare. And you know what? I don't care how much I make. I'm going to make sure we scam the government of every last dime we can.
That's
I live next door.
I know what you think about Ayn Rand, but in
It's my first love.
but yeah, okay, but in Atlas Shrugged, there's the one character that's like, it's your moral responsibility if you pay taxes to take back every single benefit you possibly can within like the bounds of.
So be a capitalist about it.
Well, it's like because you pay into the system. If you need it, why not take back from the system?
If you
Like, that's
need-
what it's
yeah.
there for, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the whole point.
Yeah, and you just like how the director of a charity should withdraw and embezzle those funds.
Well, okay, they don't want to. They don't embezzle. They get paid $16 million for their contributions.
You know, that's true. You know what? I just want to give a big shout out to all of Warren Buffett's children who are the directors of his Warren Buffett fund and have access to $60 billion to do whatever they want with. Just philanthropy is fun.
Yeah. And why aren't we starting a charity?
I'm
I don't have
not.
enough money.
Yeah, I'm not
my
related to Warren Buffett, bro.
Yeah,
Or Jared Kushner.
yeah, it's rich people shit, right?
You know, Jared Kushner's the name of my real estate agent.
I'm a full-on,
I'm a
dyslexics,
full-on-
children, the elderly, a full-on rapist.
Did you just say you're a full-on rapist?
No, a philan. It gets caught up in my mouth, the back of the throat.
Philanthropist?
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't just do bits from copyrighted material.
It's fine.
It is fine.
This is what people came here to watch, all right? Is that they want to watch knockoff Sonny in Philly.
JL, I don't know about you. I think it would just be better if you...
Papa?
You know how Trump, resents that he named Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr.?
Yeah.
He was like, I wish I named Eric that or whatever. That's kind of how I feel like you, where you're like such a disappointment in my life. That I'm like, I wish I had tied my horse to another insane autist.
Yeah,
Wait.
seriously. I think people bet on me and they're like, dude, this guy is going to have the compulsion to go everywhere he wants to. And all that happens is I get emotionally burnt out and play Assassin's Creed. It's
I think that's fucking relatable. You're talking about the analysis paralysis of being a perfectionist or being an analyst of ideas and understanding what the best way to do something is, and then also realizing that doing that is such a Sisyphean task that you just never start, and then you never do anything.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I really agree. And I don't know how to overcome that. You know what? Plug for these guys.
I think a traumatic brain injury and dropping 20 points on your IQ probably would help a lot.
Yo, I'm just going to be like the dude from Memento. I'm just going to tattoo every day on my body. So when I wake up, I know what happened. It's like
Perfect.
Tyler pressured me to make TikTok videos.
Yeah.
Day 74.
Actually, somebody
That's what this podcast is.
somebody on my financial Twitter, which I recently rebranded. So if you want to follow Drunk Dividends on Twitter, give that a follow.
It's financial advice.
But it is financial advice.
Legally.
It's unaccredited financial advice. But if you want to give that a follow, anyway. But
He's a CFA, a certified fucking asshole.
I'm a PhD, public high school diploma. I use that a lot. It actually says it on my LinkedIn.
That's great.
PhD, public high school diploma in parentheses. It says that on my LinkedIn.
Do you ever feel like you're degrading Margaret's PhD?
No comment. So I what was I fucking saying? Oh yeah, no. So I saw someone that was like, what's like the number one thing that like leveled you up in business or something? And for me, it was accountability. Like having a business partner.
Oh
yeah.
Really helped me get to the next level. Like Zach and I being able to keep ourselves accountable, and this was before employees, right? Like now it's like, okay, if I don't get up and go to work, I have 4 people that can't pay their fucking rent.
Dependents,
right?
like children.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So it's like, this is what I have to do now. But even before that, it was like, I can't, even though I had motivation, but it's like, there's always days where it's like, it's hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, but Zach and I would make deadlines. It's like, okay, we need to get this done by this day, and we would wake up and do it. And like, it actually just came up on my memories, and we were laughing about it because our grape harvest this year was our largest one that we've ever gotten by like a good margin.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. For context, Jean-Luc didn't come out and
shout
help.
out to the climate.
That was a political standpoint. I don't do labor for free.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. So every other one of our friends.
It definitely wasn't because I was fucking lazy and felt really bad when I saw everyone else show up.
Yeah, literally every single other friend showed up. So.
And we're like, and we're like, JL's making a statement. Everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I literally sat home and jerked off like 4 times. It was great.
Like that tracks.
So, my largest harvest ever, but it took us like 3 hours to process the grapes or something.
Yeah.
Like it was an 8-hour day, but like a lot of that's cleaning.
Yeah.
It was literally 1 press of the red, 1 press of the white. We actually, we pressed.
You got big chung press.
We pressed so much. That's what we call the big wine press, big chung press.
It didn't go unappreciated.
And I posted that on my business's social medias. I call it Big Chunk Press.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, but
Everyone's impressed.
I thought you were gonna say that to corner me, like I didn't watch your social media. You don't watch my reels?
My
You're not a real friend.
on my memories came up, and like 5 years ago, our first grape harvest, Zach and I were in the office for like 39 hours.
Wow.
We took like a 2-hour nap on the couches.
Because weren't you de-stemming these things by hand?
We were de-stemming them by hand because we didn't have the equipment de-stemmer. We crushed them with a rented from a homebrew store fruit press that you like put like wood blocks in the top and like press it down. And it's like we had to do, I think, like 60 presses to do the harvest a third of the size of this one.
Wow.
And it was literally like, you just see my Snapchat from like 5 years ago, right around this time. It's literally like just morning, night. I'm just like do like, and people were like,
"Are you okay?"
Literally sending me messages like, "Are you still at the office?" I'm like, "Yeah," like because the it's fruit, it's fresh fruit. It'll rot. 2 days, it'll rot. Like even by the end, when we were finishing, we threw out a bunch of the like 100 pounds of grapes because they were getting too bad to use. But it was literally like, I did a call on my social media to get volunteers. Everyone, like 7 people came day 1. Nobody came the second day because it was such shitty work. But
and you're like, oh I have limited cachet.
But just
Tyler only came because he's Mexican.
I didn't come at all.
no, was that before we knew each other or
No, I just didn't.
We weren't that tight.
No, I just didn't have. I don't know. I just like didn't have the time. Like you were like doing like all day or something like that. I was like fucking working or doing something.
Yeah.
Willows aren't that tight either. Maybe we'll get.
Also, we weren't that close at that time yet.
No, we weren't like we were this close. But it was interesting because that kind of like working fucking 2 days straight with like a 2-hour nap in between is kind of a ridiculous ask for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like me and Zach were just there together and we just had to do it.
It's kind of fun though to be passionate about that, right? It's your project.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Especially when all the odds are against you.
And then this year it's like it takes 8 hours total to do 3 times the work, but that cost me $50,000 of equipment.
Yeah.
To get that fast.
It's almost like that's the point of machines.
Wow. Thanks, machines.
This full circle, this conversation was just a big plug for industrialization. Wow, comrade, it's we get so much work done in field when there's plow.
Literally. No, I actually, that's a interesting segue or segue. Sorry.
I'm here for it.
I had a conversation today with a fellow Mennonite, and he's like,
What
yeah.
was it about?
This guy used to do the same trade. He used to do tile, and now he like does hardwood and carpentry, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I could never make money at it. And he's like, and also like, he's like, all the standards have changed. Like everything is so. He's like, the standards are so high. Everything wants like perfectionism, and he's like, and then he's complaining about like how he's like, you just can't make money at it. He's like, I quit doing it. I just couldn't make money at it.
Laser level rhymes with devil.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty interesting because I'm like, and he's like, well, how do you make money at this? And I'm like, well, I don't know, we just charge a fuck of a lot more than everybody else. Like, I don't know. We say no to most things. And he's like, and he was complaining, but he was like, oh, well, builders do this, so people do this. And I'm like, yeah, we just don't fucking work with those people. And he's like, just kind of blowing his mind. He's like, I guess you could just say no. Because Mennonites are fucking terrible at that. Like, they just do the work that's in front of them, and they just like eat shit. And they just like, they're accustomed to eating shit, and their culture is like, we eat shit and we're good at it.
Extremely humble and genuine people.
Yeah, and
Big
just
up.
terrible at making profits because of it.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for the whole, like, they own a shit ton of farmland, they probably wouldn't be doing too great financially. But they always seem like they're okay. They're like, they get their head above water.
Yeah, well, there's like a handful of them that own a ton of land, right? But
Well, they're communists.
most of them are
You know
workers.
what's so weird is that they have this weird. I think that's like the society that works. Is this hybrid? Well, Hutterites specifically.
Man, every culture has a commune structure.
Wait, hold on. Are Hutterites Mennonites, but not the
Similar.
other way around?
Very similar.
Or are they different?
They're different.
Okay.
They-
But it's not like they're Christian. It's not like a
It's a shared
hierarchy
ancestry.
thing.
But
Okay.
They diverged a few decades ago.
because of John Hutter.
Sure.
yeah.
I think it actually is John Hutter. I'm pretty sure.
Manitoba and North Dakota are the birthplace of that movement.
And fun fact, 99% of Hutterites are Manitoba, Saskatchewan, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Alberta.
yeah.
Is like that's where they live entirety. And their whole thing is they like when they hit 500 people, they split in half.
300.
And make is it three? Really? Is that low?
It's less, yeah.
It's 300.
Wow.
Because you can only reasonably associate with up to, I think it's 99 people.
The whole thing, the whole thing is you need to know everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they not? Do they not like fornicate a lot? Do they not have like a ton of kids?
Yes, they have a lot of kids. It's more.
Isn't 300 people like fucking 5 families? If you're having like 15 kids.
It's a good question.
Well, it's because
unprotected sex, right?
the families do the families do split up quite a bit. Like you have intermarriage between colonies.
Because you have to, because they understand
Yeah.
how genetics work.
Yeah, so they intermarry between colonies, so people are constantly leaving the colonies and going to other colonies in order to like marry and whatever relationship. So there's like not everybody in the family stays in the colony.
Right.
Like you'll get maybe
and-
like 60%.
And
of
it's not
families
like they're
stays in the
fucking
colony.
locked on a desert island, right?
No.
They have cars and they drive. But so my point, like,
whip in the buggy.
but it's a communal.
That's the Amish.
It's a communal society that makes money from capitalism. Like they're industrious as fuck.
Yeah.
Like
So the
you'll drive
main-
past these colonies and they have smokestacks because they have an iron plant and shit. And it's like, and then they sell to everybody else like all the time. It's like,
Have you ever seen a product display in a Home Depot
yeah,
made by Hutterites?
yeah, literally, like
All of them.
But it's like that's such an interesting blend of mixed economy, kind of like where they're communists but they're participating in capitalism.
As a commune.
Rip Trotsky. That's a deep cut for all my communist friends out there. Anyway,
Ice pick.
the
Shout out that ice pick. I'm a big fan of that ice pick.
the biggest private landholders in Manitoba are Hutterites, and it's really interesting. If you look at any major privately held industrial facility, it's very likely to be a Mennonite or Hutterite. That's the owner of it, and I know firsthand as a supplier. of
Friesen
commercial
Colony
equipment.
LLC.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's dude. I have accounts at my wholesale where it's like I'm Crystal Spring Colony or New Horizon Colony or like all these different places that have excellent credit. We've given them $150,000 line of credit.
Crystal Spring has great bacon and pig products. I've had their ham before. It's fucking excellent.
And I'm selling them 24-inch barn fans in groups of 12 for like a 80,000 square foot building. And it's like, what kind of an operation you got going on there, man?
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it's
Well,
super.
didn't you do a house for a Mennonite farmer that had a fucking helipad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fucking helicopter.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I need to go into one side of my farm quicker. So I'm.
No, that's a funny thing. I was talking to these Mennonites today. They're like, "Oh yeah, we know."
Yeah.
They knew him. They'd done his last house, which he built 8 years ago.
And my favorite
'Cause
thing.
I guess when you're a billionaire, you build a house every 6 years.
And my
Why not? You got
favorite
something
thing
to do.
about these guys is that they don't respect the capitalist hierarchy.
No, they don't give a fuck.
Like, they constantly scam the government, allegedly. This is me talking on my ass. Please don't investigate any of these colonies. But, like, if you ever make friends with them, they love their alcohol, which is so funny. Because, like, you think of these, like, tight religious sects as, like, being squeaky clean. They love their fucking alcohol. If you ever make friends with them, they're like, "You drink alcohol?" You're like, "Yeah." They're like, come see this. And they got fucking stills in the basement. Like, operations the size of mine when I started
Yeah.
making liquor for the colonies. And it's so funny. Like, it's just, I love it.
My mom always tells me about clients that she's seen that have like everyone has their own like enthusiasms, and it's like it's actually something that's not considered taboo in those colonies. It's like everyone kind of needs some kind of outlet. That's
I don't
like
know how alcohol became taboo when it was fucking Jesus turned water into wine
but that-
right in the fucking Bible, right?
Alcohol's not taboo. It's just something that they don't. It's not something that like they don't party like a nightclub, but they do drink a lot.
If you
Like
take a Mennonite on a fishing trip, he'll drink all your beer. If you want him to stop, bring 2 Mennonites. Neither of them will touch it.
true, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. But I was gonna say like there's Mennonites that like is with the women like they'll have like these extensive lingerie collections, and they'll be wearing like some fucking hot ass lingerie underneath those like floor length dresses,
Interesting.
and it's just
I've
but that's not frowned upon.
just
It's
gonna-
just it's as long as you only wear it with your husband. Period.
Well,
I'm going to go on record and say the colonies produce some of the hottest fucking women.
Some of them.
Yeah,
I was gonna
listen,
say I've seen some colony women. I'm like, you're from a colony, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, no, it's kind of a rough because like they don't take care of their face or like hair or anything, right? So like, but I mean, that's all like,
You got potential.
dude, they just like it's that farm work, man. They like have the
Yeah.
wildest bodies where you're like, oh damn, you look like a Coke bottle.
I
You hear about the dudes?
Yeah, why are they all fat? They all have a beer gut, bro.
Yeah. Do you see how well they eat?
Yeah, that's
man.
true.
Yeah.
There was like, if you think about fucking Thanksgiving dinner with grandma, that is
that's every
3
day.
times a day.
Yeah,
3 times a day every day, and all the beer you can drink.
Dude, it just
Yeah.
for the women it just seems like churning
no
butter gives you a
incentive to
butter
do-
face. Am I right?
And no incentive to do better because the Mennonites like thick boys, I guess.
Yeah, they do. Thick
Um,
thighs, like my boy Mitch. Shout out to Mitch,
We love Mitch.
friend of the pod.
friend of the pot. I guess on that note, we should probably transition here into the segment that we call Shot Caller, where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take.
We call it Hooters, not shooters.
Okay, I'm going to censor that.
You should just like fucking
Dude, can you
fuzz-
just put the video of Biden falling?
just fuzz it out like hentai.
Why would you fuzz this? This is what I came for.
Okay, you have 90
Modesty,
seconds.
bro.
You have 90 seconds. Can we talk about how Japan censors their pornography but then puts it on TV?
I don't get that.
It's like you still get it,
I
right?
really like Japanese porn. I think Japanese women are beautiful, and I also really like how real it is because I think American porn is fake. I think it's really gross and it's kind of demeaning towards the women. I think Japanese porn is a little bit closer to like actual sex. Shame that they have to censor it. Really, it's tragedy.
All right, that's all we'll say on the topic. Here's the shot glass that you bought me
Oh.
in New Zealand, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Um,
Yo, shout out to my Myrtle Beach bitches.
So today we're taking a shot of Dylan's Rye. This was sent in by Dylan himself.
Yo, shout out
Um,
to Dylan.
He's a rye boy.
And cheers.
Salud. Smooth.
This will be the theme of the podcast.
Do they have a,
Willows makes a face. Jail coughs, and I'm like,
Do they have a do they have a Cheers in New Zealand?
No.
They don't. They say Cheers.
New Zealand doesn't have a lot of culture, bro.
I thought they had an excessive amount of culture.
No.
With
They've
like
only
Maori.
been populated for 800
they're
years.
just they're
What about the Maori?
They came
Maori?
800 years ago. White people came 150 years ago. New Zealand is
Really?
younger than Canada.
Where did the Maori start?
They started in the Philippines,
Yeah.
Polynesia, so like Southeast Asia. So like
All I
Indonesia,
know
Papua
is
New
when
Guinea.
you play as the Maori in Civilization 6, you start on a water tile. They're the only civilization that does that.
Fun fact: it's Maori is an anglicization of the name. It's
Okay.
Modi, and that's
Modi?
you roll the R.
I'm not gonna try and
Modi.
but
pronounce
it sounds more like a D.
It's
Yeah.
more offensive if I try to pronounce an indigenous name wrong than it is
Modi?
me just saying Maori.
Modi. Yeah, Modi.
First of all, these people are the kindest people in the world, and they totally understand where their place is and kind of where they fit
So-
in. So like they love good publicity for them is always a big thing. They're like, fuck yeah, just let the world know about us.
I know they're they've kind of won reparations there where they're like getting the land back.
Oh man,
Right?
their history is sick.
But would you compare their cultural observations from the rest of the country as similar to Canadians' indigenous people?
No, it's actually antithetical.
Okay.
Mori would dude, some of the most badass warriors the British Empire ever encountered.
Yeah, but so were Canadian indigenous people.
Why didn't
all
the
of
disease kill them?
Well, because they came from Asia, right? So Asia shared the
Right.
same diseases as the old world.
So that's the main difference. In
Yeah, dude, there's almost
but
130,000 year genetic
No.
difference for the New World, right?
But I mean in like 2022. Like, does the average white person living in New Jersey, I was gonna say, living in New Zealand, think this like Canada's a racist goddamn country?
Oh yeah, New Zealand has a shit ton of racism too. You
Okay.
got to remember the British live there, and they're like the Nazis. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
I was trying to like sugarcoat it, but basically what I'm trying to find out is dude, I'll fucking talk to people like casually that don't even know me, like customers, that'll be like, oh yeah, it's fucking Indians, huh? And I'm
Dude.
like, no, not those fucking Indians.
Yo, fuck you,
Like,
fucking
what are
white
you
people.
talking about?
the Brits conducted a multi-generational war against the Mori and lost consistently. 1-for-1 was like the ratio of losses in the battle, unlike any other colonial state. To the point where they couldn't allocate any more fleets in the region because they were like, "Hey, Australia's right here. Why the fuck are we wasting our time with these people that can actually fight us when we can take the Australian Aboriginals that don't have any military resistance?"
Do you know that Australia lost a war against emus one time?
Yeah, dude, Australia's that's a place, man. You should hear the opinions New Zealanders have about Australians, bro.
Oh yeah, you were saying that like if they called someone lazy, they'd like call you Australian.
yeah,
They'd be like, "Stop being a fucking Australian."
nice.
One of the things that I found really entertaining was that the identical relationship between Canada and America exists between New Zealand and Australia, and they view them
with New Zealand being Canada.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like they're more rural, they're colder, they're more like collective in their decision making. They're kinder, they're softer, they're more polite, and they're not as upfront or assertive or important on the world stage. And they're mostly like a resource-driven economy as opposed to being like a service one like Australia. It's identical in every respect, and like the memes that Canadians have about Americans are right there with New Zealanders. I was on
so
a
good.
cave diving expeditions with New Zealanders, and Australians showed up, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you know, you want to make sure that after 3 minutes, or like no, you want to make sure like this only lasts for 3 minutes, or as I like to call it, the Australian special." Like, damn.
That's funny. I hate the entire southern hemisphere. I think it's objectively the worst hemisphere. I think
Can you name a country from the Southern Hemisphere?
I can name I think every country in the southern hemisphere.
Okay, you
Let's
know
go
what?
left or right.
I'm gonna
Canada.
I'm gonna ask for 5.
Okay. Wait, where's the line? Is Panama north or south?
Okay, this is not starting in a great
Okay.
direction.
Give me a second.
Can you define the Southern Hemisphere?
Southern Brazil,
Fuck, Will.
Southern Brazil, right?
Fuck, man.
Brazil
So,
is half and half.
Brazil is on the equator.
Ireland,
Yeah,
not
but
North.
part of Brazil is in the south, right?
Ireland,
That's- yeah.
Ireland, not
So we're
Northern
sta-
Ireland,
no,
but
we're-
Ireland.
We're
The
starting.
Republic of Ireland.
We're starting there. South Africa,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, New Zealand, the
Yeah.
southern part of Indonesia, Australia, right? Like that's 5.
I'm amazed that you managed to name 2 hybrid countries.
Okay, I'll name more. Fucking
It's okay, Willis. I believe you. I'm just busting your balls. I was having a conversation with a
Name
coworker.
Name 7 African countries.
I-
Name 9 African countries.
Does anyone know how many African countries there are?
A lot.
64, with South Sudan becoming a country.
Wow. Willis is a learned man.
I didn't even know that.
I know a fair amount about Africa.
Africa is about as big as the rest of the world's land masses combined.
So,
It's fucked.
so here's my counterpoint: the fact that I had to struggle to name 5 countries in the southern hemisphere proves it's the worst hemisphere. Because if it was better, I would know it.
I think it proves that we're collectively racist as the West.
How is that racist?
I think
They're
we
half-
just suck.
They're fucking a bunch of white people.
You know what?
See the spiders down there?
My
Fuck that shit.
Dude, my favorite part about graphing anything is that every chart
Hurricanes?
just comes up that all white countries are green and every other country is a mixture of yellow and red. Like, doesn't matter what metric you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
See, here's another counterpoint. So the African Union was broken up, obviously, by, like,
Hillary Clinton's bombing campaign in Libya.
yeah.
Thanks, Hillary Clinton's bombing.
That's what the
campaign.
emails were about, by the way, guys. And nobody ever asked what the emails were about.
Why-
It was
why-
about Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Why didn't they break up NATO?
Who?
Because Finland ran
Yeah,
583 bombing missions. Oh, sorry, Norway ran 583 bombing missions on Libya, so they.
Why
could
didn't
secure a
Libya run
25% stake.
583 bombing missions on?
Well, they don't have the planes.
Exactly.
Well, they did, but
Full stop argument.
yeah, it turns out that Norway was actually the critical in doing a preemptive strike on all of Libya's air force bases.
It turns out being like a.
they kind of crippled
Yeah.
them.
It turns out being a society that's just content with being a society is a bad way to be a society. You have to be fucking a warring industrial.
Yeah, so these Muslims have it wrong with their peace loving. They need to invade other people.
Yeah, expansionism is
Okay,
what it's
so
all about.
you're a self-described leftist.
A Marxist.
Okay.
allegedly.
A Hegelian Marxist.
I've heard Hungarian Marxist. I've heard
Hegel was Marx's teacher. He taught him about critical analysis. That's where Marxism comes from. Is an application of critical analysis to capitalism.
do you think they ever had sex?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Marx was fucking...
He was probably gay, right?
he had a
Marx
fat
fucks.
cock,
Yeah.
right? First of all,
Yeah.
like, honestly,
So does
sick pecker.
Who did Rasputin?
Rah, rah.
You know what's the weirdest thing about that song is I actually do love Russian queens.
Did you know that Rasputin by, what is it, Honey M? Or
Boney M. Come on.
Boney M.
Come on.
Honey M.
Sorry, whoever remembers a one-hit wonder. But that was
Then
actually...
one hit wonder.
We listened to albums of Boney M.
That was actually huge in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like there's like this
Was he a
big
communist, Rasputin?
No. It was an American band. But like,
What was he? No.
No, he worked for
Boney.
Tsarist Russia.
I'm
He
not
worked for
talking
Nicholas
about
Tsar II.
Boney M.
Dude,
Rasputin, the actual guy.
Rasputin had an enormous cock.
And he
Yeah,
was,
I know he did.
He was like a grifting guru.
Yeah, literally, the easiest people to grift are rich people because they don't have any practical skills. You
Yeah,
can
well,
convince them of
no,
anything.
He made.
He was
like
he was like Reagan's fortune teller.
he made queens come for the first time.
Yeah.
And they're like, "We'll give you anything."
Yeah, he would have
He was
sex
awesome.
with
Allegedly.
every
I love
person's
Rasputin.
wife, and they really hated him.
My history teacher in he never actually taught me, but he was a history teacher in my high school. Said I looked like Rasputin all the time.
Nice.
And then every time he said that, I was like, "Yeah, I do love Russian queens," but
Deep cut.
wasn't a communist though.
No.
See, I just
he was probably an anarchist, if anything.
envision anyone with a beard who's dirty to be a communist. Okay, but this is
That's
getting
it.
completely off the point. We were drunk before we started this podcast, just for reference.
I'm a lightweight too.
Jean-Luc, you consider yourself a Marxist. I have heard other Marxists say before on like Twitter that this, because you know how like the American left, but more so liberals, but some of the far left are like Scandinavia is a great example of a mixed economy where we can have strong social programs with like without dismantling capitalism, right? And I've heard Marxist people respond to that being like, do you know how Scandinavia funds all their social programs? Colonization.
Yeah.
They have these gold reserves from African countries that they fucking helped invade. And they have all this continued, the same way like China does these like leases where they're like, they know that you can never pay them back, so they seize the land kind of thing. They have all these ports. The same way they do shit like that. Like Scandinavia
or
was
Belgium.
Turns out that's actually not.
Yeah, okay. I don't fucking. This guy keeps trying to defend China's regime to me.
China is by far the most idealistically aligned Marxist country, without a doubt, in the world. Maybe Cuba, but Cuba was never a Marxist country. That's very important to understand about Castro's ideology.
I also don't like Castro's or Guevara's ideology, where they're like, they were the whole like, let's just switch the hierarchy. Like, we talk about this all the time, where it's like the goal of communism is to abolish hierarchy.
Yes.
But from what I understand, and maybe you've read more into it, but I've studied Castro relatively extensively, and he was like, we just need to switch the hierarchy, so I'm in charge.
Well, so that's...
Because he was homophobic, and he was like, we need to get these gays out of here.
Okay. There's multiple points to address. So Marxist-Leninism is this. Marxism says there's problems with capitalism. Leninism says, hey, we could establish a dictator of the proletariat where we take the working class and we make them in charge, because we'll never kill capitalists or get them to change their mind. And frankly, we don't want to, because that's cruel. But they're going to have to live in our society somehow, much like how Marxists lived in a capitalist society.
So hold on. Marx was more like, was Lenin like scorched earth? We kill everyone?
No.
Okay.
No. Lenin was very peaceful. He just said, if people aren't going to change their mind, they have to live with us, but they can't have any power. Just like how Marxists can't have any power in a capitalist society.
Okay.
And he's like, well, let's just reverse the hierarchy. Fidel also, by the way, in the 90s, reverted on his stance on homosexual marriage and relationships, and also said that he was wrong and that he had reasons to grow.
Because he met Rasputin's fat cock.
I've said this before. If you've ever done wrong, like, you hurt one person, it doesn't matter the good you've done. Like, if you're doing evil to a certain small section of people, I don't know. I don't think the ends justify the means.
So this is where I would say, let's employ Hegelian dialectics. Dialectics means using conversation and reason to understand
context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Hegel was Marx's teacher. He was essentially the person that said, hey, listen, use this logical formula to try to understand the symptoms that we're trying to figure out, and you can trace all of these actions back to the root cause. So Fidel, yes, absolutely was bigoted and biased. Everyone was in the 50s and 60s.
See, I don't like this argument because I always hear like people on the right be like, yeah, they had slaves. That was fine back then.
But I mean,
I don't like that argument.
Chattel slavery was egregious in its time.
Yeah, and I just don't think, like, there was people back then that were like, owning slaves is fucked up.
No. The overwhelming majority of people said owning slaves was fucked up. No. We have to address this first, because you're drawing a false equivalence. So this is intellectually facile.
Okay.
The difference is that the overwhelming majority of people did not have any understanding of homosexuality or sexually deviant relationships, is what they would have categorized it at the time, and there was an overwhelming negative reception to that. So at the time, the majority of people would have aligned with what the views of Cuba were. They would not have aligned with what the views of 1820
America was.
Yes. By 1860, UK had already eradicated slavery within its colonies.
Yeah.
Right? It took 1820, UK had eradicated slavery in its colonies.
Yeah,
it
America
took 1860 for them to have a civil war, and it wasn't until 1950 that they fully integrated black people. Right? They were 130
and then,
years behind
South
the UK.
Africa figured it out in 1997.
There's a reason why the UK is 11% black, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're also 15% Indian.
And they're 99% Indian.
Well, UK is not nearly as racist as you think. They're just fucking capitalist assholes.
Do you know that curry is the national dish of London? Or Regional dish of London.
Yeah, because have you tasted the rest of it?
No, the curry that we know is like American Indian food.
Yeah.
Isn't Indian food.
Oh, is it like Chinese food?
So I actually watched this.
Ginger
Yeah.
beef?
I watched the First We Feast. The people that do hot ones, they have like a ton of other shows. So I watched this other show, and they had this Indian rapper on, and he was cooking butter chicken or whatever. And then they were asking about questions, and they were asking about curry and stuff, right? And he said he's an Indian-born American immigrant, but when he was a kid, and he said like the first time he ever heard the word curry was an insult from like white American kids, being like, "Oh, you smell like curry," like being racist to him. And he's like, back in India, he's like, curry refers to like a specific yogurt dish that like it's not like a common thing. But then like you come here and it's like that's the Indian dish.
Really?
But yeah, apparently it's just like a westernized. It was during the Raj, British people were like, we're trying to integrate our food with their spices kind of thing, and they invented it. That's why curry is like the fucking regional dish of London. But people from India are like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's so because I remember watching this video and then I Googled it, and it's like, yeah, apparently curry is like this weird like unspicy yogurt dish if you actually speak like Punjabi or whatever.
That's fascinating.
But then in America, he was like, why are people yelling curry at me when I'm like 8 years old?
Damn,
Because
that's
he's like,
disappointing, though.
because he's like going to school in like America in the fucking 90s or whatever, right? And they're being racist to him. And I thought that was fascinating. Like it's so hard so much of these countries' history is baked in colonialism, like to the point where it's like your national dish is because of colonialism.
Yeah.
And like your entire way of being is because of like it's sad in a lot of ways, but it's also, I don't like the contextualizing of like, well, yeah, everyone would have been homophobic back then. The same way I
really were, though. You got to understand that most people's cultural predilections were dictated by religion, which is outspoken against any sort of degenerate form
and so
of
I'm
procreation.
looking that back with a 2022 lens, and I'm saying that was bad, but retroactively.
It's only been the last 10 years that homosexuality has been accepted, right?
Yeah, but there was homosexual people forever.
Yeah,
you
but,
have
but
records.
you have
ever
to
see these fucking like Pompeii? Like
But
you
I-
see that like they must have been roommates. These fucking girls holding themselves in Pompeii and shit. Like,
yeah, but
yeah, yeah.
that doesn't mean that it was acceptable on a societal level.
yeah, but I don't
or
give
on
a
a
shit about what's
political
acceptable on a societal level. It's
Well,
acceptable to take fucking 50% of my income to fucking beat up black people. Like
Yeah.
That
I
is
don't
that is
like
acceptable.
I don't give it like
Which is in contemporary history, it's only been the last 10
But
years that's important.
do you like
we kind of
okay.
go back and forth, you know?
Sure, but like, do you think that it's just because of my lens, or do you think if you put me in 1820, would I be homophobic?
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Sure. So I like
Well, like, look at me.
I don't
Like,
know.
I'm a Marxist,
Yeah.
right? And that's a dirty word now. I
Yeah.
really don't know any other Marxists. Even the people that are bleeding heart liberals, I'll tell them things that are like proven theory that worked for revolutions in the past, and they're like, dude, you are a fucking terrorist. And it's like, wow, we have the weakest left-wing party out of any country in the world.
yeah.
our left wing party, the NDP, they're fascists that want dental care. I say that all the time.
Yeah, they're rainbow fascists.
It's the drone bomber that has a LGBT flag on it.
Listen, the best way to describe a liberal is a drone pilot who receives mental health care for free because of the trauma he receives from bombing Palestinians.
Yeah, that pretty well sums it up.
Yeah.
He's like, I got my pronouns, first of all.
Yeah.
He's like, first of all, they, them. Secondly,
You know, yeah.
Second of all, fuck this
Hello,
wedding and the first responders.
My name is General Bergen. My pronouns are he, him, his. Today we did a surgical.
Him, theirs.
Yeah.
my pronouns are kaboom.
Yeah. Today we did a surgical strike against a Syrian wedding and killed 400 insurgents.
Yeah, and by surgical, I mean that it only leveled the city block the city
And
the wedding was happening on.
And insurgents, I mean anyone who lives in Iran.
Yeah,
Like,
literally, there was brown dudes that died, and honestly, I chalk that up as a win.
And all the military age first responders took care of them.
So I will concede that maybe it's my 21st century lens, looking at homophobia and transphobia and slavery as bad things objectively. But I have a hard time looking at a communist revolutionary that had a bad side and accepting the good with the bad. I have a really hard time morally justifying that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that people are multifaceted and that you can have compartmentalized views, right? So R. Kelly, objectively fantastic artist, also pedophile, sex cult rapist, right? Terrible human being. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, also probably a pedophile. We
allegedly.
We as a society have a knack at separating the art. I mean, look at Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice beat the shit out of his wife. Ray Lewis shot a guy in a nightclub. There's guy,
the baby.
Yeah,
killed a guy in a Walmart.
I mean, look at XXX.
Probably deserved it.
Temptation, right? Tentacion. That guy,
allegedly
beat his pregnant wife.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but we say that just so we don't get sued.
Rest
he beat
in
his
peace,
fucking
X.
wife. All right.
Rest in peace, X.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I don't know if that happened. She's incredible.
Yeah, that guy was just, sus. All right.
Rest in peace, X.
Anyway, there's gonna be some Gen Z people that are mad at me, but that's fine.
Rest in peace, X. I'm mad at you.
There's lots of people from my generation that are just as fucking disgusting that I'm gonna defend to that point as well, right? And it's because what they provided for us was irreplaceable.
Bill Cosby was the huge one.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of people that were like, his contributions to comedy was worth for raping hundreds of people.
Holy shit, dude.
They don't say that.
Dude, he was like Hitler
Serial
bad.
for fucking 50 years.
Yeah, like hundreds of violent rapes.
There's like 100 that came forward. So you
that's
the thing. You gotta 10x that.
I don't want to like
the numbers. This guy's like LeBron, all right? How many triple doubles? Like, what? He's the triple.
How many in one night?
Dude, this guy's the Black Mamba of rape, all right?
I don't get the maybe I don't want to get into this. I just don't get the whole like put them to sleep thing. Like that would just turn me off immediately.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is I also thought about that. I'm like, why would you like, because but that's how you know that they're not
well.
And, yeah, it's like
because if I don't have like enthusiastic consent, I'm like, oh, she doesn't think I'm hot.
Yeah,
like
dude,
then I don't want to do it. Like,
I remember,
what I mean? Like,
I remember having sex as a freshman, super drunk with my girlfriend, and she fell asleep halfway through, and I was about to nut, and I was like, are you hello? And like kind of like, oh. That was the extra glass of wine I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll call this one a night, right? Like it's not fun, man. Like you want.
And then that's one thing because like you're also drinking too much, like whatever. But like this is like a sober guy that's like, you read some of the transcripts. It's like he's drinking fucking soda water, pretending it's champagne, and then like. When she goes to the bathroom, he fucking quaaludes her drink. It's like, this is planned. This isn't like see a drunk and not that I'm defending in context. Not that I'm what's that fucking guy that raped that girl behind the dumpster and like got off?
Brock something.
I was gonna say Brock Lesnar, but that's it.
Brock Lesnar is fine. Brock Lesnar is fine.
John Cena. No, Brock Lesnar I think is good.
Brock fucking white guy in college, we'll call him.
What was this guy? Brock. Was it? I think it was Brock. Yeah.
I want to say Brock Voorhees.
No, it was Brock something.
Okay, whatever. But he like walked past a drunk girl and was like, I can take advantage of this situation, right?
Yeah.
That is a different situation in my mind than like
premeditation.
No. Then okay, that too. But then like we're drunk together.
Yeah.
Dude,
but
Brock Turner.
Brock Turner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Worse.
But he's free. This kid, right?
Like he's not only free, but he is also got a very active LinkedIn.
Ugh.
Brock Turner did nothing wrong.
Are you sure it's Brock Turner? I don't want to like flame the wrong guy.
No. Here, Brock Turner.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fucker.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Who also I want to reiterate the details of the case. Dragged an unconscious woman behind a dumpster and forced himself upon her.
Yeah. Which is like
allegedly.
No, it was proved in court,
and they gave him 2 years.
Proved in court.
Allegedly.
No. That only happens when there's no lawsuit.
But okay,
you found my red line, and it's Brock Turner.
It's like his cousin. But okay,
No, he just looks like me.
I don't want to like defend.
He's a good guy. Okay.
I don't want to defend.
He's
I don't,
fine.
I don't want to defend any rapist, obviously, but like him being like, oh, drunk girl, I can take advantage of. That's one thing, but like being sober and premeditating, bringing drugs to
I don't
that's
get
like
the appeal.
that's
I
that.
don't get the appeal.
But that is like a next level evil.
Yeah.
right? Like that
Oh,
is
really?
like so far. It's like fucking just lock him up, right?
Because
like,
you know, at least with Brock Turner, I'm like, okay, maybe you guys were flirting before. Maybe there was something that was kind of like you
Sure.
can build a fantasy in your head, right?
not that we're defending this guy.
No,
Fuck
no,
this.
no, no,
Fuck
but
this
like-
guy.
Like, there's a difference between aggression and like taking a random bitch behind the dumpster.
Yeah, well, like I'm trying to figure out because like Bill Cosby is a unique kind of evil where it's like it's
Serial,
not,
too, like,
it's
is-
not that you wanted to have sex with these women; it's that you wanted to victimize them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that Brock Turner was about victimizing. I think he was like, I want to get my nuts off.
I
and
wanna
don't-
get-
and I don't think women are people.
Because I'm a
I-
fucking ugly lacrosse player.
Yeah,
I want to get
he's a
nut
piece of
off.
shit. So
Yeah.
like,
I
he's
found-
but Bill
but
Cosby
Bill
is a
Cosby
monster,
is a famous person as well.
which
Yeah.
is even
This guy can get laid, right? Surely
Yeah, he wants to hurt people.
he wanted to hurt them. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's-
fucked up. It's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For context, I found
So Castor's the same.
I found a drunk bitch behind some bushes once,
Oh
and
no.
like just like
Really?
I literally saw her
Tyler.
walking down the sidewalk, and she
Do I have
like
to edit this?
no, and she like fell over like into the bushes.
Oh, word! I've been there. I've been there.
and we're like,
yo, I had a drunk girl pee on me because of that.
no,
I had a
and,
drunk girl. I've
I
had
mean-
a drunk girl pee on me like 20 times, mostly because I asked them to.
So me and my buddy are driving along, like we're gonna go home, and we see this bitch like fall into the bushes. We're like,
He's saying bitch. I just want.
I don't remember her name. I'm just gonna.
I love using
I'm gonna
bitch
call-
as an adverb
Yeah.
instead of like.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I could call her that bitch. So we just see her fall into the bushes. And we're like, oh shit, she probably needs help. Like nobody was noticing her. Like people were walking by, nobody saw her, right? Because everyone else was drunk. It's like, shit, let's go figure out like what's wrong with this girl because someone's gonna fucking take advantage of the situation. So we go grab this girl. We kind of like try to pick her up. We try to wake her up. We were slapping her face. We're like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, do you need a ride home?" And she's like, We're like, "Okay, what's your address?" And then she's like, "Oh, my address." And then she like blacks out. And we're like,
Was
oh.
this small town Mordenstow?
No, this is Winnipeg.
Okay.
And we're like, "Oh shit!" Like
When was this?
we need to bring this girl to the hospital.
When was this?
Like 6 years ago.
Because I've known you pretty much the entire time you lived
This
in
was
Winnipeg.
right before that.
Okay.
Uh,
With
so
who? You don't have
uh,
to say it on.
you believe it?
Okay.
So we're like,
Hold
"Oh, we got to get this chick."
Hold on. It reminds me to see, when I edit
Yeah.
to bleep.
So we got to get this chick to a hospital. But like as we're like driving her to like an ER, all of a sudden she wakes up again, and I'm like, "Oh shit! Like, are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What's your address? Can we drive you home?" She's like, "What's your mom's phone number?" We're like, I like ever my phone. I'm like, type in your mom's phone number. We're gonna call your fucking mom. So she types in her mom's phone number, and I'm like, "Okay, what's your address?" She blacks out. Shit.
That's
So-
the code word. That's like the communist sleeper cell
Yeah.
thing. Whenever you say, "What's your address?" she blacks out.
Yeah.
The
so then-
Manchurian
so-
candidate over
Yeah.
here.
So then like I hit dial and it was like whatever, this number's not listed. I'm like, oh, she fucked up the phone number. And so we're driving around. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna avoid the ER. And all of a sudden, she wakes up and I'm like, okay, what's like type it in again. She types in the phone number and like, what's your address? She starts saying the address, blacks out. So I dial the phone number like, hi, I have your daughter here. What's your address? I want to bring her home because she's like, I found her on the fucking sidewalk, and her mom's like starts freaking out. I was like, no, like, no, like I don't know how to say this, but like we're not the bad guys, and I'm like, I just want to get her home. So then we finally get this girl's address. We start driving her home, and she's like intermittently waking up, blacking out, waking up, blacking out, and we figured out that she'd been roofied. So this girl had been roofied and got abandoned by all of her friends. Couldn't figure out how to get home. What the fuck are you doing?
For what?
Yo, Willows ain't the homie. Keep going, Tyler.
So we're trying to get this girl home, and we finally get her home to her mom's house, and her mom comes out of the front door, and like we are like dragging this girl back into her house, and her mom's like, thank you so much. And I'm like, don't get, like, the last thing I said to her, I'm like, don't get mad at your daughter. And I'm like, I'm 99% sure she got drugged. And I'm like, she's not, like, this isn't
no.
drunk. This isn't drunk behavior. Like, she got roofied. Like, she keeps blacking out. Like, she's fully coherent, and then she blacks out, and then she's coherent, and then she blacks out. and it's like I'm pretty sure she got drugged.
I think that's like you digesting it. It's like
Yeah,
waves.
yeah,
That's a thing. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I know this was probably like stupid of us to do. We probably should have just called 911. We should let them handle it.
Nah,
But I'm like,
fucking don't
honestly, and I'm like, I don't want to deal.
Don't
like,
bring
I
any
don't.
cops
I'm like, I
there.
don't think you want to deal with cops. I don't want to deal with cops. Nobody wants to deal with the ER. Like, this is like, I was just trying to help you, and it's like,
GHB is really fun.
yeah,
If
for
you
real.
do it consensually.
Yeah.
If you
Listen,
know what
if
you're
there's no
doing.
weird dude around you, GHB is a great fucking time.
Yeah, no,
You gotta
I got GHB'd with the weird dude.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was
you
bad.
gotta be like my constitution. Like you gotta
Yeah.
be like heavier, in my
Yeah.
opinion, to do like GHB.
Or
Like-
you just pass out.
Yeah, because I can like.
Yeah.
But I like ketamine, so I've been down that route.
So I hate ketamine.
Okay,
I've done it
before
a few times.
before you get on this divergence?
Yeah,
So
it's just me and.
no. So what happened
Is that marijuana?
like I find
Should I take one?
Would you like a
Should I take one?
This is mostly CBD. It's really.
I
doesn't do
don't
much.
smoke. He changed his tone of his voice. I can tell he's going in marketing mode. I
Would you
know
like
this
some?
guy
No,
way
the-
too
the-
well.
Literally, I smoke this all the time. It doesn't
No.
get me that high.
No, I know. I have the same thing.
Okay.
I don't need it. But okay, can I finish my fucking point of this long ass
Press the
winded
button
story?
and inhale a little bit, just a little bit, like a little.
So me and my friend, former friend who I consider an asshole and kind of a psychopath, we find this chick that's passed out in the bushes in this like super vulnerable situation, and it's like not even the 10th thing on our list was let's take advantage of this girl. It was like number one was
Get her home.
number one was find someone else that knows her. Number two was okay, find like maybe bring her to a hospital or call police because it's
Yeah.
like me being the guy with a girl that's roofied and she's in the backseat of a car, but it's like alternatively she was in a bush, so in a car is better
Is
than
better
in a
than-
bush.
Yeah. At
So
least
it's
you
like
have the fucking heat on in the bush, right?
Yeah,
Or
What
in
kind
the
of a
car.
human being looks at that and is like, this is
Exactly,
this is a good
like
situation for me.
like that's what I'm thinking. Like I'm trying to think down like the decision
okay.
chain. I'm like it's so fucking
Yeah.
far down there.
I have like a.
you gotta be fucked.
Like you have to be so fucked to be a Brock or a fucking Bill Cosby.
I won't get too specific, but
please,
like
please don't.
I have a little bit of like a power fetish, right?
Sure, who doesn't?
Yeah.
If they're asleep, I can't convince them to have sex with me. Therefore, my entire power chain is like.
There's no
Doesn't
interaction.
exist.
I'm just gonna hijack this.
It's an
and I'm
object.
gonna say I've got a bit of a sub fetish as of late, because like I did the whole dom thing for a while, and it's kind of boring. Like,
Okay,
well,
okay, Jill.
well, no, it's like I want to explore. Like, I would love to get pegged. I'd love to get dominated by a chick. There's nothing better than a chick like riding you like a motherfucker, right? But the problem is, I just can't find any suitable candidates. It's like, come on, like everyone's like, oh man, you got a big dick, fuck the hell out of me, and it's like. No.
But I don't wanna.
I wish I could find a girl that was like super aggressive. I had a couple in the roster that were like fun like that, but they were like wild, crazy. Like they're like Bill Cosby's in their own right, you know. It's
Bill
disappointing.
Cosby did nothing wrong.
It's I think I want to give more visibility to men out there that want to explore their own sexual spectrum, because that's probably one of the biggest inhibitors of us accepting other people for who they are, is repressing our own indulgences.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
if you are not in if you're not in touch with your own sexuality, you are going to be the worst person.
I'm always a big jerk off before you make a business decision.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I was gonna say jerk up before you make a sexual
Any decision.
like
Well, okay,
anything.
so
It's like
let's bring it in
I
here.
think a minute.
7% APR. Why did I think that was okay?
Everyone, let's bring it in here. Let's bring it in here. This is a business podcast.
What?
Oh
So-
yeah. Sorry.
So
I got a potty.
I'm very. There's a lot of people that are like.
There's no pegging in business.
Semen retention. Don't have sex. Like you know what I'm talking about though. Like these people where they're like,
I love semen retention.
if you
people.
if you jerk off, that's emasculate. Like these people exist, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
And
They do.
and those people are like, I think they're denying prime biology, right?
Yeah.
Dude, sorry, semen retention is the
Do you know how-
funniest word.
Do you know?
It's an interesting
Do you know how fast that shit regenerates? That's how fast you're supposed to expend it, or faster.
Dude, if I don't jerk off for like 4 days, I become a monster. I start making decisions like, whoa, who is that?
So
You
I
start thinking about really fucked up stuff.
I'm a very big, like, I have a business call at noon, and then I put in my calendar jerk off at 11:45. Like,
Yo, I listen.
seriously, I'm
When
not
I was,
kidding.
when
Like,
I was on the dating market, I would always jerk off before a first date because it would make sure that I was a true reflection of my personality as opposed to like my penis's personality, which is
Yeah.
always like, hey baby.
I used to.
Who's that?
I used
You
to
got
have
a pulse?
I used to have I used to have the trap house. So I was the one hosting the parties
Yeah.
when I was like 18, 19, and I had some questionable encounters that I'm like, that was not my brain.
I can speak from experience. Long distance relationships are absolutely fantastic at
Well,
ensuring that there's a mental connection there.
yeah.
Like
I had a long distance relationship for a year and a half,
There has to be, yeah.
so I have context.
But you had a girlfriend prior to that, right?
Yeah, we met here. She went off to school.
So I've had 2 recent long distance relationships that were reasonably serious. The one that I have now makes a lot more sense in pretty much every vector. And,
Well, you've had sex with her.
But actually,
Here's
yeah.
what I'll say:
Yo,
is
shout
that
out to having sex with your long distance partner.
It's-
It's important.
it's not a relationship until you have sex with them. I don't give a shit.
You know what's funny is
That's
until
the
then
sex
you're-
before marriage people.
Until then, you're pen pals.
Yeah.
Honestly, we mutually were like, hey, I love you and everything, but like this isn't serious until
Dude,
we like not.
you
right?
get married.
Till we nut.
You get married, and then the sex sucks. Dude, okay, there's
The worst.
Yeah, well,
There's a lot of people that just they're not necessarily bad at sex, but you're just not compatible with them,
Yeah.
right? And how do you know that's not going to be your fucking wife if you wait until you're married?
Have you ever read the Kama Sutra?
I am aware of it.
Oh, okay. Honestly, though, there's actually like a bunch of really interesting.
Is there commentary?
Yes.
I thought it was just like pictures.
No.
Oh, okay.
So,
Word. Okay, maybe I should then.
yeah, no, it's actually like eye-opening
Okay.
because they figured it out a long time ago. So Indians were kind of like, okay, there's 3 different classifications
From
of
India.
people. Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
you
that
know
was
what's
a
funny?
that was a joke. I'm so sorry.
No, you know what's funny is because we're North American, right? I had an Indian guy that I worked with.
This
just a
is the
couple-
reference I was doing. I wasn't being racist. The reference is the story he's about to tell.
I had an Indian guy work with me that's only been in Canada for about 3 or 4 years, right? And he's never lived in Manitoba before, so he's here, he's new, he's asking questions. He's from Alberta, and I'm telling him like, oh,
Alberta
yeah.
is the Texas of Canada, by the way.
Yes, and there's
75% of our listeners are from America.
Manitoba might as well be the Arizona of Canada because it's
Nebraska.
it's got the Navajo
Oh.
Nation in it. Like Manitoba is the cornerstone of the indigenous identity of Canada.
Yeah.
Louis
Yeah.
Riel, our indigenous revolutionary hero.
Founder.
Yeah, literally the anarchist, crazy son of a bitch who made the Métis.
Literally
of-
terrorist.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
This guy murdered British people to make sure that they were treated with dignity.
Yeah.
Absolute hero. We have a day named after him that
And
everyone
then-
else in Canada just calls like some other holiday because they're too ashamed to admit
Every
it.
other province
Yeah.
calls it Family Day. We call it Louis Riel Day.
Yeah.
Shout out Louis Riel. And the government didn't recognize him as the founder of Manitoba until like the fucking 50s.
the
like,
government
way too
hung Louis Riel. By
Well,
the way.
the RCMP,
yeah,
what became the RCMP, killed him, murdered him.
because he was a troublemaker.
The founder of Manitoba for one. Well, to be fair, he did shoot somebody. It was he did shoot Thomas. Whatever.
It was
like-
justified. First of all, you have to understand the context of that time. Police aren't a thing. Police weren't a
Yeah,
thing
there
until
was
the
no-
1910s.
yeah. He did shoot somebody. Like, let's not.
Yeah, but you could usually just get away with shooting people.
But
It's
our
'cause he was
but
indigenous and
Our
he shot a
legislative
white man.
buildings have a Louis Riel statue. I'm a big. You know what? I posted. I always tweet this. Like, most of my heroes are domestic terrorists.
Oh yeah, dude, the
Louis,
IRA, shout out.
Louis Riel created the province that I live in.
Absolute badass.
Luke,
Certified.
Luke Skywalker.
Absolute badass.
There were
Certified.
1.36
Double
million.
penetrated the fucking Star Destroyer.
No, there were 1.3 million people on that the Death Star 1,
He double penetrated every one of them.
and he fucking killed them.
Yeah,
And
him and his lightsaber.
he was some guy from a desert that was radicalized after his parents got killed in a drone strike.
desert also had 2 moons.
Not
which
his
is,
parents, but
which is communist because there's not one.
okay. But everything that you ever see that Kanye clip that he's like, what's the main character in Star Wars name? And Joe Rogan's like, Luke Skywalker. He's like, Lucas. He put himself in Star Wars. Man, I love Kanye.
Yo,
Kanye
also,
he is an insane person.
first of all, I really want to say that Kanye makes excellent shoes, and I don't like any of the other fashion that he puts out. But I think his shoes are phenomenal.
Okay, I hate his shoes.
I think that they're like a next
I
generation
love his
of fashion.
music.
I don't like his music as much anymore.
Interesting.
The last album, what was the one with?
Okay,
I feel like y'all are getting
the gospel
sidetracked.
album doesn't count.
Yeah, no. Sorry. Also, can we talk about how Mark Hamill doesn't understand that the Empire was meant to be a criticism
Mark
of the US
Hamill's
in
a
the Vietnam
fucking
War?
liberal.
Because Mark Hamill
Yeah,
just went in front
I
of a
know.
Department of Defense funded
know.
fundraiser to get drones for the Ukraine
Yeah,
so
I
that
know.
he could autonomously bomb Russian civilians.
I know.
It's like, bro, you're
I
literally
know.
advocating for the Empire.
I know.
You were my hero.
He tweeted a pic. I
that's
know.
so good.
I'm so. No
The
I-
drones?
Star Wars.
Drones specifically.
No,
we don't want to
literally,
risk American lives.
yeah.
What the fuck, Mark?
He's I'm the biggest Star Wars fan you can possibly be, and like I read all the comics and the books and the video games, like all the lore. Yeah, and Mark Hamill is like, you know what we need to do to resist against the Empire? Elect Biden.
Oh,
Like he's a liberal, not a leftist. He's a liberal, and liberals are far right. Like
yeah, honestly, dude. Speaking facts, but whatever.
I said this to my parents. I said, Jagmeet Singh, who's our leftist in quotations politician, I'm like, he's far right, but he wants dental care. And they're like, he's not far right, he's far left. I'm like, does he want to abolish capitalism?
Dude, if you're still if there's nowhere in your platform where you talk about assessing the validity of property rights,
Yeah.
you are on the far right.
Dude,
because a centrist,
Bernie's on the far right.
dude, a centrist would be like, well, I mean, there's plus and minuses to property rights in general,
Yeah.
right? And like maybe for some reasons there's a reason to adopt it and not.
Hold on, just completely. I know we're on our 9th tangent. Do communists respect contract law?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because contract law is like the basis of
It's my favorite law.
beliefs.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is
Okay.
The whole
'Cause that's
anti-hierarchy thing is anyone who's of what is it? Informed consent.
Informed consent. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was talking about that yesterday.
You should be bound by whatever agreement you make, as
Okay.
long as it isn't under duress or there's no authority
Because
imbalance.
that's where I used to call myself a libertarian. Now I don't anymore. But I used to because I'm like that contract law is the basis of all, should be the basis of all government.
Oh man, dude, there's
Because none of us consent to what the government's doing.
So I just want to use this
No.
platform as a great way to highlight that. First of all, everyone in the Soviet Union got paid different salaries. And if you were a surgeon, you got paid like 8 times more than a person who was an accountant.
People think
Like,
it's they steal your money to equal it out. People think that.
yeah, that's not a thing. If you're a really smart person and you're doing a really hard job, they're
get
gonna
paid more.
pay you, and you're gonna live in like a dope house, and you're gonna have dope shit. Because personal pride, personal possessions should be supported and encouraged. Because that's what a society is about.
Do you want to talk just quick? I don't want to get like super political and recent, but you were just telling me about how like Russia is occupying the Donbass region and shit. You were telling me how someone you know has family there.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
like for the first time in their life. Like, you want to tell that story?
Yeah, okay. So my sister's baby daddy is an Ukrainian expat, and he left there in 2014 when the civil war started happening, and essentially his view on Putin and on the region is that things have been improving since there's been Russian administration and Russian influence in the region. There's more funding for social programs. There's more security for the people that own property there. A big problem with Ukraine was that they were privatizing all public land, and people that were farmers there were not sure whether they were going to retain operational ownership of the land, and they would be expelled from the land in place of industrial farms that would be instituted there by French agriculturalists, who were the people that were going to be predominantly buying that newly privatized land. Russia has a lot of subsidized programs. I mean, they've got strong communist roots. You got to remember that when Russia comes from a background of the government paying for everything, paying for most things is like a far right departure. So when Russia now is an oligarchic gang state, I mean, Putin is no one to respect, and frankly, his entire administration is criminal. When they do things and it's supported by the public, they're doing things within their societal context, which is like, well, yeah, a monster would not put everyone else first, right? So we can only do like a little stuff where it's like, yeah, you can own some land, like get rich. Because like prior to that, it was like, well, why would you get rich when you could help somebody else? So there's a different context here. Where like in America, there's no history of that. There's no pretext of communal aid. Despite some very early colonies having some stuff, I don't want to get into that, but Columbus has got some weird stuff tied to it. The biggest thing is that America has always been very individualist, very separatist, because pioneers came here from Europe because they wanted to abandon the European collective. They wanted to come here and forge a new identity. And it's imbued in our roots as North Americans. We are explorers, we're pioneers, we're adventurers. And I think that we refute any sense of collectiveness despite it being in our best interest. And we have to break from that because we can change what the collective is if we
There's
want
nowhere
to.
left to pioneer or adventure to. Fun
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
We kind of reached that limit. And also, it was already reached a while ago. It's just fucking white ignorance that was like, oh, let's go adventure and develop this area that is already belonging to someone else.
Yo, shout out to the Arawak people of Hispaniola, the first island that Columbus ran ashore on.
Yeah,
They lived in a literally.
They're hanging out.
Yeah.
They're hanging in there.
For the most part.
1% of them that are left not dead and didn't collect. Like, the most badass thing that those people fucking did is Columbus brought capitalism to the Arawak people, and within like
16 years.
no, it was
70
less. It was like within within 2 years, like majority of the population committed collective suicide because capitalism was so much worse than the life that they lived. It was an entire society just like off themselves because they're like, this is so fucking bad.
Very important to emphasize that the collective group of Arawak people decided to finish their European genocide at will because it was better than abiding by capitalism in their perspective, because this all occurred in the span of less than 16 years, less than one generation. So these people went from being entirely free, entirely subsistent on nature, to having to pay taxes to an oppressive, forceful government.
Or work jobs, do hard labor, like
they
Columbus
were hand digging minerals out of mines to pay gold taxes to the Spanish government.
Yeah,
I would rather kill
like,
myself than pay taxes as well.
Yeah, like these people were
Which is why
described.
I'll never pay taxes.
These people were described by Columbus as like being like they were like slight of frame, like they weren't muscular, they weren't tall, they weren't big, they weren't strong,
Very fuckable.
they weren't athletic, like they weren't like
Twink is what we would
yeah,
call
sure,
them
they
now.
were a bunch of
Smooth.
twinks because they worked for like maybe 60 days out of the year. They would do work. And the rest of the time, they would just live life and relax and enjoy because they didn't have to fucking work hard because all the resources were plentiful.
This is also a great
And they
time.
died really fast under hard labor.
We need to talk about Hurricane Fiona and Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is the left half,
Shout out
the
to
western
Fiona.
half of Hispaniola, and Haiti is the eastern half.
Mm-hmm.
Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and Puerto Rico is considered a middle-income country. The difference...
Haiti and the Dominican Republic are on the same island. JL doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, sorry. My bad. I told you I'm a lightweight. That's what I meant. It's still a U.S. colony. That's how I categorize them in my mind, is essentially
And,
pieces of land occupied by brown people that the U.S. doesn't care about.
And
And owns.
I've been there, and when you fly over, it's fascinating because Haiti has no property rights. Dominican Republic does, and the Dominican Republic side is all green. Haiti is all dead.
Yes.
And it's because capitalism is the best and communism is the worst. Fun fact.
So
I've been
Haiti was a French colony, and they were a sugarcane plantation, and they required essentially the eradication of all of their native plant species in order to make agricultural
Well, yeah, who
space
needs
for
plants?
sugarcane. And at that time, it became very apparent that the erosion of the soil in Haiti was going to be an irreversible process. And right now, what you see now, and the storm surges and the hurricane effects happening on Haiti and the Dominican Republic are both byproducts of the colonial oppression there and the forced agriculturization of the land. There's no natural lagoons or marshes to deal with the storm surges anymore. Everything is just made for agriculture. Most of the damage you see there is damage because of the way that we've industrialized it, not because of what it naturally would endure.
Because of the massive debt that they had to pay.
So Haiti had a slave revolution in the 1880s where they separated from France, who had just separated from their own monarchy, and they used equality, fraternity, liberty as their mantra, and the French still oppressed them and tried to violently suppress the revolution. And then when the revolution was successful, they made them pay an inordinate sum of money. I think it was about 118.
They made them pay reparations.
Yeah.
For winning the revolution.
Yeah. And then the problem
which
was...
is insane.
When France stopped being an economic power in World War I, United States took over their debt. And now the Dominican Republic still owes $72 billion to the United States. Dominican Republic owes $72 billion. Haiti owes $118 billion.
And adjusted for inflation over time, if that money would not have been paid over time every year to the American economy and to the French economy, which basically just went into the elite's pockets and didn't go actually into the French economy or anything else, if they would not have been paying those payments, they would be as modernized as most of the European bloc nations.
100%, without a doubt.
They would be on that level of
they give them credit card
infrastructure. Yeah,
we have to talk about that. Every colony got credit card interest rates, and you look at poor people now who are trying to build a living on credit cards, and they're poor.
Yeah,
and you look at countries that got 18% APR, and they're poor. And you're like,
no shit. And they've been on 18% APR for fucking 80 years.
and this is why I can't criticize the Belt and Road Project, because when you look at the financial numbers of it, it is extremely reasonable payback terms. And the countries that default on it are countries that have their own corruption problems that probably could use a regime change, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and there's just debt forgiveness as well.
No comment on that.
I mean, well, we have to. It's very important that we acknowledge and remember that the U.S. has played a vital role in overturning every socialist revolution that has happened since the Cold War. Everyone, without exception.
Yeah.
And that in Africa there is a Pan-African socialist revolution that is occurring that's trying to replace the franc. It's also important to recognize that 11 countries in Africa, 11 of the richest countries in Africa, still use the African franc, which is the French currency imposed on them through colonization, which France takes a cut of because they administrate the currency. You guys,
rough.
You guys fucking process that?
Yeah, and then Gaddafi is
and
we
people
should
are
stop that.
French is known for their finance.
Well, Gaddafi's
Yeah.
we should stop that. We should make an African currency, and then they fucking kill him.
Yeah, Gaddafi was in control
terrorist.
of
He's
Libya
obviously a
until
terrorist.
2011, and he wanted to sell his oil through the euro instead of the petrodollar. The petrodollar is considered the choke point in global geopolitical strategy, that if you control the pipelines and you control the currency energy is sold in, you control the world. Which is why Saudi Arabia is subservient to the U.S., because Saudi Arabia cannot exist without the U.S. dollar, because that's how they sell their oil.
And
that's why Venezuela got overturned and Chavez got overruled.
And all the pipelines explode, apparently, out of random mechanical failure.
Yeah, Nord Stream. 2001, Chavez was overturned in Venezuela. You had 2003, Saddam Hussein had just proposed selling in the euro as opposed to the U.S. dollar. Iran in 2008, when their reactors got sabotaged by Mossad in Israel, that was because they were talking about selling through the ruble instead of through the U.S. dollar.
Also, last year.
Literally, if you are an oil-producing country and you do not sell in U.S. dollars, you will face military intervention. And there is no...
You mean freedom?
Yeah, sorry, you will get democratized.
You will get freedom.
You'll get democratized as fuck, bitch.
Anyway, we're running a little bit late here, so we're going to transfer to the last segment of the show that we call Tip of the Morning, where we give you a life or business tip that we are currently going through in life or life.
Thanks.
Business. I have a tip if I want to start.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Living with jail
Exhausting.
is exhausting.
Cheers to that.
And
I'll drink to that.
one of the reasons why I fought hard for you to come and live with me is
Begged me.
because no, I didn't.
This house would not be here without my subsidization. We're an economic unit, I hope you understand.
This
As
communist
defined by the Manitoba government.
True.
I just learned that today, by the way.
A unit.
Yeah.
An absolute unit.
If we were to apply for economic income assistance,
it's a
we would be
household
assessed
income.
as a household income.
Yeah, I
and
know.
there's only two there's only two provinces in the whole country that don't do that, which is New Brunswick and Quebec.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
Roommates is a sin. Live on your own. Trash.
yeah, communal living is the
Yeah,
worst.
It's
right?
almost like saving money by living with other people is a bad use of taxpayer money. Look at the logic on that.
And exactly what he's saying is kind of brings me to my point, which is that this is a militant communist, allegedly, that
Minus the military.
I don't really see eye to
Kinda bitch
eye
made, to be
on.
honest with you.
I don't see eye to eye on with a lot of big picture political stances. But, I connect with you on a personal level because I feel like your heart is in the same place that my heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we have different like steps to get, like both of us have like 100-step plans and they bell out and then come back to the same, right? So we're both on like step 30 that's like so fucking far away from each other. But then step like 80 will be closer to each other.
Willows is a man of upstanding character, and I feel like he wishes the best upon the people around him, and his intentions are true and positive and are worth supporting in every right. And me and him just differ in our models of reality and our strategies to game said models in order to accomplish said goals.
I'm waiting for the but. That was very complimentary.
It's very true.
Thank you, JL. I appreciate that. So my tip of the week is that I think that there's a lot, like especially through COVID, I saw a lot of right-leaning people, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with you leaning right, but I saw a lot of right-leaning people being like, as soon as they have a left opinion, you're completely discredited because you're a bootlicker and you want the fucking jab, and it's I don't want to even hear your opinion. And my tip is that I think that you can find a lot more common ground with the other side of that, because it's not, I always say this in my industry, in the wine industry, it's like people always ask, like, there's there's 30 breweries, but there's like 2 distilleries, a winery, a cidery, a meadery in the province, right? And people, customers that don't really know anything, always ask me, they're like, oh, there's another guy at this farmer's market selling alcohol too, like, oh, you're competing with them. And I always say to them, it's not me versus Dead Horse versus B-Boys versus Patent 5 versus Capital K. It's us versus Budweiser. It's us versus Peller States. It's us
Solidarity.
versus Barefoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the small versus the big. Big fuck small, as Tommy Shelby says. And
Fuck Barefoot.
and that's kind of my same thing, where it's like, maybe you, right-leaning person that's listening to a business podcast, maybe it's not you versus the left like you think. Maybe it's the working class, the people that have businesses, or the people that have jobs, the working class, versus the ruling class that fucking take all your money on taxes. We pay 50% of our fucking income in taxes to the government, to Trudeau, who fucking does what, right?
Listen, I think it's really important to state that, first of all, every person who's a communist loves their fellow man and wants to be as inclusive as possible. And the biggest goal for us all is to recognize that politics shouldn't exist, and that division is artificial and imposed on us to divide us and conquer us.
Yeah.
I'm not even getting political. Like, it's just that, like,
It's all that matters is like, hey, listen, you're a regular person. I want you to work as little as possible, have as best life as you possibly can, and your children and your wife and yourself to be safe and fed and happy. That's all I want. and I hope that you want that for me too. But if not, I'd be happy to still provide it for you.
My tip of the week, maybe listen to the other side, because I think it's the side that you think. I know you don't believe in the political quadrants, but I like that kind of. I like that kind of.
I don't think it's real.
I like that visual. Okay. The
It's
call
a useful tool.
hold on,
It's
stop.
a useful
You know, in
tool.
school you were taught the atom, right? How neutrons are all around the electrons.
Yeah, when
Right?
and Jimmy's hanging out.
No, that's inaccurate. That's not how they look. But that is a step to illustrate how they function.
Okay.
To I've heard it compared to the financial markets. Like, that's not how options work, but it's a good way to visualize them. Like,
Give you an understanding before you understand the details.
a
Right?
call saying I'm betting on a stock going up and a put saying I'm betting on a stock going down. It's more complex than that, but that's a good illustration of what you're trying to do. Same with the atom. It's like those little sticks with the balls coming off of the electron.
Stereochemistry.
That's not how that works, but it's a good way for you to visualize an abstract concept. So I like the political quadrants because I always use my parents as they mean well, both my parents.
Parents always do.
They're trying to be progressive, they're trying to be accepting, they're trying to be smart, but they're like, why wouldn't I watch CBC News? That's the most objective. Like they're just
Not
they're
an uncommon view.
but so I use my parents as a representation of the average Canadian,
Fair.
which is I also love because I get them to taste my product first, because they're a great representation of what the average consumer will want to drink in my wine, right? But so they mean well, but they're idiots, and I'll always run past ideas with them and the conclusions that they come to. It's like that's what the average person thinks, right?
Fair.
So the same way you're like illustrating in physics 101, you're being like, here's what an atom looks like, when meanwhile it doesn't look like that at all. I like the political quadrant because my parents think it's left and right. There's nothing else. You're either left or right. And I think they're probably, if you describe communism, they couldn't do it probably.
I think. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, to just finish, like the having authoritarian left, authoritarian right, libertarian left, libertarian right, I think gives a lot more context to the actual positions you can have in politics. And I think the quadrants are a great representation of that. That's why I stick behind that explanation to people, because I think it's a great explanation to people that aren't as antiquated in the small details
Yeah, absolutely.
of politics, because I'm like, well, yeah, you are left, but where do you fall on the, like, are you left because you want higher taxes? It's like, well, that means you still want the hierarchy enforcing that, but you're farther progressive, right? I think it's I don't know. So my tip of the week is maybe talk to some people that you think are on the opposite side, because I don't think they're on the opposite side. I think you two are on the same side against the opposite enemy that you want to be against. That's my tip.
I completely agree with Willows. I think it's an excellent point, and I think that's a main takeaway for any interaction you have. As a second note, I would also like to say if you believe in the political compass, you're politically illiterate, because there is no such thing as a right-wing libertarian. Can anyone define what the right side of the x-axis is on the political compass?
Fascism.
No, you can't, because you don't understand politics. And that's exactly why it's not a real concept that any economist takes seriously.
These people that read...
Libertarianism is just a term that got co-opted by the right. And
Libertarianism is a leftist concept.
And becoming
it's
a
formal term for anarchism. That was the rebranding of anarchism in the 70s. It has been co-opted by the right in order to cash the most vile and vicious views possible under the guise of individualism.
And you know how I know that's true?
Because they're all pedophiles.
As someone who used to identify themselves as a libertarian, I know that's true because I follow the Libertarian Page of America on Twitter, right? And they'll post, yeah, borders shouldn't be a thing. Immigration, if you want to live here, why should we stop you? You're not hurting anyone. 750 comments. This is where you lose me. Libertarian Party. Like, because they want guns and no age of consent laws, but they don't want, like, as my understanding, the basis of libertarianism, which is why I got on board, is the non-aggression principle. If you don't hurt somebody first, or you can't hurt somebody unless they hurt you first. Period. That's it. That's the only law they believe in. There's no other rule. So you can't force yourself on anybody unless, like, you can kill, like, equal force.
Yeah, you can just trick someone into thinking that they're not getting hurt, though, right? Because you can take advantage of most people, like how I could take advantage of a child and groom them, right? And we have laws against that.
Sure.
Because that's fucking crazy. Like how you could be a sociopath and say, hey, listen, I know that I have burned down all of the food trees in the region and that my land so just happens to be the only place that can produce food. And if you work for me in exchange for said food, I'll pay you a fair wage, a wage that isn't equal to the value of your labor, but a wage that I deem fit for you to continue to exist under my operation. That is libertarianism. It's the understanding that you can manipulate the environment in order to maintain a hierarchy.
So I follow some diehard people that represent themselves as libertarians that say, like, for instance, climate change is a breach of the NEP. If you ruin somebody's environment, you're directly hurting them. So, like, I follow a bunch of let's say purist libertarians that aren't just co-opting it for the right, that are like, if you pollute that, and these are people that, like, I follow a couple libertarians in quotations on Twitter that are like, they live in cabins on fucking with a wind turbine, because they're like, yeah, me burning oil is hurting other people's life, and that's a breach of the NEP.
Yeah, but they still believe in private property, right? That's the big thing.
I believe in private property as well, though.
Yeah, then you're a capitalist.
I agree.
That's the determining rule of capitalism.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I am a capitalist.
Libertarians believe in private property.
Correct.
Yeah, so they're capitalists.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anarchists are libertarians that don't believe in private property.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why it's a triangle, not a four-square compass, because it goes the right, and then it goes people that believe in no hierarchy,
okay,
and no private property, nothing, like absolute anarchy.
Yeah.
And then there's people that believe in hierarchy and total collectivism.
Do you think that, like, total collectivism is because I always heard it broken down as people that will use force on other people and people that will not use force on other people?
The biggest division on the left, because really it should just be a linear spectrum, whether you believe in hierarchy or you don't.
But people are more complex than that.
Yeah, and if you want to be a purist, you can ignore those differences, but we're going to be realists, and we're going to say anarchists say that there are no just hierarchies. Communists say that there are just hierarchies. Just like how if you're in a workplace, like if you're an anarcho-syndicalist and you believe in unionizing your workplace and turning that into a small social division.
Because if you're syndicizing your workplace, there has to be a hierarchy to syndikize.
As a lifetime manager, I can tell you firsthand, people do not want to have that job.
Yeah.
People do not want to be responsible for that. They don't want to be as engaged as that. They want to be clock punchers, which is absolutely fucking fair.
I have employees that hear my job and they're like, Jesus Christ, how do you do that?
Fuck that.
Like,
being a manager sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that being said, there are some people that have the right incentive systems where it's like, well, if you paid me enough money, I'm at a point in my life where I could do fucking whatever you would take for $70,000 a year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they do that.
Yeah.
It's just, if you're an anarcho-syndicalist, you say, okay, we're going to elect someone to do that job because we can't rule by committee. Obviously, we've proven businesses that autocracy is the most efficient.
Like that's capitalism with extra steps.
No, it's not, because the shareholders are the workers. It's a co-op. Every business is a co-op. Do you not feel like you're best served by co-ops? I think I shop at every co-op I shop at, I like.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's I'm always on the fringe of theory versus practicality, right? Where I'm like, of course.
You are a very practical person.
Of course it would be better if everything was a co-op. And then you watch these, like, co-op bakeries that go out of business because no one shows up to work the early shifts because no one wants to.
Why do you think they're covered by the news, though? Why do you not think that the 600 billion, or sorry,
Because the capitalist news covers the failures.
yeah, there's
Sure.
there's a $500 million co-op that's operating in Spain. That's their largest manufacturing partner there.
Co-op, we call it. Red River Co-op is one of the largest petrol distributors in Manitoba. Is a co-op.
Yeah.
And if you it costs you $10 to buy a membership to co-op, and then you get a cut of the profits. We're doing some peeing breaks, but Tyler's gonna give you a tip of the week right now.
So, I think I think one of the things that I'm really beginning to appreciate as an adult is seasonality. So, it just got cold as fuck today. Like, it was nice at the beginning of
It
the day.
went from 16 degrees Celsius to -2, literally overnight.
Yeah, it was shit.
Love it.
Yeah, fuck it. My job gets considerably less enjoyable when the weather gets worse.
My job lets me stay home more.
Yeah, must be nice. Yeah, no, I just suffer. So embracing seasonality, I think, is something that I've really come to enjoy over the last couple of years. Because, like, the idea of running away from the wintertime, running away from the unpleasantness, just like, I want to go find some nice temperatures. Like, it's nice and everything, but it's just, there's something about, like, just the way that I grew up, the way that I was raised, what I was born into. It's like the seasonality is like, there's something about having seasons in your life and that give you time to breathe, time to rest, time to celebrate, time to enjoy, time to work. Like, there's a lot of good things about a cyclical life.
That's what I really like about Winnipeg, is that it
Yeah.
has such defined seasons where it's
Yeah,
like you
2
live
weeks
in
for fall.
Yeah, 2 weeks of fall. That is
But
the
you- but
that is
you
the
live in
downside of where we live.
but
We
you
get 2
live in
weeks for
Florida
fall.
and you don't have a fucking day that's different. It's just the
Yeah.
same.
You have like
Yeah.
you have hurricanes and
Temperate.
you have hurricanes and you have too hot.
It's almost like temperate regions are the most valuable places on Earth.
I just like that, like, the leaves start falling and you're like, oh, it's fall now. Like, and snow starts, and then the snow melts, and then it gets hot. Like, I
Have
don't
you
know.
seen Daryl's Instagram story?
Yeah.
We have a friend who's currently road tripping down to St. Louis and hiking all along the way and couch surfing. It's fascinating. And just watching the change in climate as you get further and
Yeah.
further south down the continent is beautiful. And you start to kind of see, like, oh, wow, I would love to experience that slow gradient change as opposed to these harsh, abrupt seasonal ends. As we speak, today there's going to be about a 20-degree inversion where we were normally averaging 20 to 25 degrees during the daytime. We're now going to get down to 5 degrees and negatives at night, and it's going to most likely consist of this predominantly until April.
We go to minus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll go another 20 down and then another 20 down. Yeah, it's great. But what it does for me is, like, as soon as this hits, like today, the seasonality hit, and it's like all of a sudden, like, almost a switch flipped in my head. I'm like, I just switched out of summer mode into I switched out of summer into, like, fall winter. Which is, I say fall winter because
And you're not even wearing a cardigan, you slut.
this is my thickest sweater. Like, you should feel this.
Carly a strap on.
When I get into, like, winter mode, and this is something that it really stuck with me because I used to work with a guy who was from Madrid. And he's like, in Madrid, we just enjoy life all the time. He's like, we party all the time, we go with our friends all the time, we patios all year, like, life's good, weather's amazing, it's Madrid, everything's fucking great. He's like, but you don't have people with passions and hobbies and projects and like contributions and things that they
A little more
do.
casual.
Everything's just, like, kind of casual, living, laid back, enjoying life. He's like, people have talent and hobbies and things, like, amazing things that they create here. He's like, because you're
Name the richest
sitting,
man in Spain.
Yeah, he's like, you're sitting
Name
inside.
the 10 richest people in America.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. Wow, I can name a bunch of Americans that are successful in the
you
richest
guys
man
want
in
to talk
Spain.
about some hella racist globalist South theory?
No,
Sure.
actually.
But his
Let him finish his.
but his
tip.
point was, he's like, you guys sit inside like 8 months out of the year. He's like, and you can focus on specific things. And he's like, it's a totally different world where it's like, instead of just going out all the time, you have an entire part of the year, months of the year, where you're just inside with your thoughts and a couple of friends and your couple of things that you do, and you just focus on that. And you get this quiet time, you get this downtime, and it's just like the world kind of slows. And he's like, that's really, really, really cool, because amazing shit comes out of this community that I didn't think was possible. He's like, people don't pay attention to shit. He's like, I was the only person that had ideas and plans and dreams, and I'd work towards them. Everyone else is like, just relax, man. Come on, hang out. Like, just come have another drink. Like, quit working on your fucking thing. Just come out, hang with us. Just chill.
I just want to go on record and say that Canada is unprecedentedly overrepresented in the service industries. And there's multiple different examples I can draw from, but some of the greatest entertainers in Hollywood are Canadian. Actually, a surprising majority, a disproportionate majority. We're 1/10 of the American population, and yet we represent about 30% of the major entertainers down there. Our music industry, Drake, Justin Bieber. I mean, I think it's Katy Perry is Canadian as well, actually.
I don't think she is.
No,
Yeah.
I was pretty
Yeah,
surprised.
The
'Cause she was the
Weeknd.
California Girls.
Katy Perry,
Katy Perry's Canadian, really?
I really
Yeah.
want to. I think
I really don't think that's true.
maybe you know what? I'm not gonna whatever. The thing is though, is Canada punches above
the
its
girl,
weight. I, as a
the
kid,
Call Me Maybe. What's her fucking name?
oh, Carly Rae Jepsen.
Carly Rae
she's
Jepsen.
Canadian.
Yeah, her niece is in Carly's dance class.
Really?
Can she get Carly Rae Jepsen on the podcast? I think
Probably-
I asked this already.
Probably not.
As a
Come on.
person with an accounting background, I can say that on the International Accounting Standards Board, we represent 2/3 of the total directors that are essentially governing international financial standards.
Yeah, we're good at digits.
Canada's a thought leader like no other in the world. There's a reason that we occupy the position that we do. And also,
Yeah, there's even this shitty little fucking frozen tundra is like represented.
well,
in
look at our
world
banking
politics.
industry. Like our 5 banks are 5 of the biggest banks in
I've
the
been-
world because of how we've been regulated.
Fun fact, today I just today is the third day that in October that the stocks market has been open. It's the only day that it's been a red day. First couple days in October were fucking 2.5% up.
Yeah.
Today was a red day, so I bought 3 banks. I bought Scotiabank, I bought National Bank, and I bought CIBC. I started buying Canadian banks stocks when I learned that every single bank owns 20% of every other single bank.
Yeah.
They just own. Literally, you look at
They're all the same bank.
the
Yeah. There's a reason
I'm
why
not
Canada
kidding.
banks never got affected by the 2008
the
crisis.
Yeah.
top shareholder of BMO is RBC.
Yeah.
Top shareholder of RBC is TD. Top shareholder for TD is BMO. Like, they literally just own all each other.
Well, then expand the
And
relationship.
that was an epiphany of me where I'm like, if our economy collapses, I'm in a bigger fucking problems. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing, like,
You got your cash in the biggest possible pool.
if the banks collapse, we're fucked. We're anarchy.
Everything's fucked. Yeah.
So, because like people were saying Lehman Brothers was too big to fail, but it was one bank. Like, it's like every bank here is tied. The country of Canada is tied to our financial sector, and they're all giving 7% dividends. So shout out fucking Canadian banking stocks. What's your tip of the week, Tyler?
Embrace seasonality.
JL, give me a tip of the week.
My tip of the week is to not alienate yourself from other people's perspectives, and that
Wasn't that basically mine?
More or less.
I think it's really important, especially now considering the climate of our political landscape, to recognize that other people have views because there is always a nugget of truth in it.
Conservatives
There's-
and liberals are going to be arguing until we die of a climate disaster.
Frankly, that's probably what I agree with. But more importantly, it's just people's perspectives are always valid. You cannot invalidate someone's lived experience. So instead of arguing with them about that, debate with them on the best way to fix it. That's how you move forward.
Thanks, guys, for listening. I appreciate it. I'll call you on this point on whatever. Google it.
Yeah, we started posting again, so fucking listen.
Yeah, I'm back to, I know I took 6 weeks off posting, but we're back to weekly posts. I actually posted 3 episodes in the last 4 days, but by the time you hear this one, we'll be back to weekly posts until next July when I'm busy again. But yeah, Willows, Tyler, JL, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I know you don't want people to find you, so I won't even plug you.
Nice.
Bye.
Try to stay employed.
Like you would get fired.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.